Another episode of the Invisible Hand Podcast, and today's video is going to be about, are you racist and can black people be racist? Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe. Before we get started, do it now.
Are you racist?
Whoa!
Oh, am I what?
A racist?
Am I racist?
Yeah.
I should hope not.
What kind of question is that? I wasn't expecting to get asked that. I'm like, no?
No.
No.
Hell no.
That is a multi-layered question.
Well, let's get into it.
I say the N-word when I'm by myself and listening to rap songs.
I've seen a black man like walking towards me and I cross the street, but I'm always in my head like, please know that this is because you're a man, not because you're black.
Or because he's a man and he's black. It's possible.
I'm not racist, but I'm a server, so I know races.
What she meant to say, guys, is that she's a server and she assumed that black people are not going to leave a tip. So therefore, that's what she meant by being racist.
I've definitely stereotyped people before.
Just like a stereotype.
The stereotypes.
Like what?
White people smell, they can't cook, they can't dance.
Asian people can't drive.
African American men, they have something that's bigger than everybody else.
This guy would bring that up.
I was just talking about with my friend, setting her up with my other friend, and I'm like, but you know, he's Asian, so he probably has a small penis. Like,
Now that right there, that's extremely disrespectful. I don't even know if that's racist. That's just like a horrible stereotype, and that's really fucked up. Seriously.
why did I say that? Why did I think that?
They just kind of pop up. I tell myself to shut up.
Are you racist?
Only when I'm driving.
Are you racist?
Jokingly.
I tell racist jokes. I like to make a lot of jokes. Sometimes they're race jokes.
I do make a lot of racist jokes.
When I was younger, I'd make a lot of jokes about it, but I realized what are these jokes actually saying, and what am I communicating about people through the way I choose to make people laugh.
Are you racist?
No.
No, not even a little bit.
I wouldn't say that I'm racist, nor I'm capable of it.
Didn't anyone tell you black people cannot be racist?
Black people can't be racist.
And why is that?
Racism is an institutionalized thing. I don't think black people have set up institutions powerful enough to oppress other people.
I'm gonna step in right here because I think this one's really important. You hear this a lot, and a lot of black people say this, black people can't be racist. You have to have the power to enforce racism in order to be racist. Now, from a technical perspective, what does racism mean? That means that you're extremely prejudiced to the point where it matters in the world against somebody just because of their race. Now, there's three things that needs to be differentiated in this video real quick, just to save a little time. There's prejudice, which we all do. There's discrimination, which we all do. And then there's racism at its core. Now, if you think about America, when you talk about real racism, you think about slavery and Jim Crow, where there's real consequences to people being racist. That means you're keeping them out of education, you're keeping them out of school, you're putting them in slavery, you're killing them, you're incarcerating them, you're doing something of significant harm to them because of their race. When somebody's in a position to do that to you, then they're racist. Now, this argument that black people can't be racist is a complete lie. Of course, black people can be racist. Now, first, let's get to the core of where racism starts. And here's where the problem comes in. A lot of people assume that somebody's racist is somebody who has hate in their heart for you for your actual race. And that's kind of a philosophical question, because the question is, do people really just hate you just because you're dark-skinned? No. If you really got into their psyche, most of racism is not about the person they hate and more about the inferiority or the biasness or the desire for power and domination of the person perpetuating the racism. For instance, if I say I do not like this race of people, most of the time people who say that have a disposition. They're mad about something. They're disgusted about something. They want access to something. They do not want to share something. They want to own and dominate something. So it's less about your actual race and more about their desire to either make themselves more mature, to get themselves more resources, or to acquire more power on the basis of subjugating you or making you less. So this ideal that black people cannot be racist is completely false. You could be an African American, you could be an African, and you could see a white person and you could think you're better than them. You could think that they're inherently evil. And there's probably even some black people in the world who actually actively do things against white people that's probably not fair, that has significant basically results in their life, and therefore they can be racist. So from a technical perspective, can African Americans be racist? Of course. Anybody who chooses to act disproportionately against somebody because of their race can implement racism into the world. So I get their argument, but their argument when they say black people can't be racist is almost like a defense to the argument that white people give in America that says, hey, black people be acting racist too. They say things that are unfair to a lot of white people in America who didn't actually implement slavery. And so that's like the kind of the combat for that. Well, you can't really say nothing because technically compared to what white people did in America, like Jim Crow and actual slavery and systemic racism and, you know, hiring the jobs and controlling taxes and dominating politics and creating their prison industrial complex that's normally in MLK in most hoods in America. Like all of that stuff is actual implementations of advantage. So a lot of black people feel you do that and we do none of it, therefore you couldn't possibly call us racist. So from that perspective, if you do apples to apples, those black people are right. Like you can't really say black people in America have any significant power to implement any type of power racism where you get less because we don't like you. So from that perspective, they're right. But from a technical term, they're not right. Anybody could be racist just by acting adversely to somebody significantly because of their race. So I know I said a lot, but I think it needs to be said.
I can be prejudiced, but I'm not racist.
I'm prejudiced.
I feel like I'm biased when it comes to white people, honestly, because I don't tend to give them the benefit of the doubt because they come into this world with so much privilege.
Don't worry, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt too. A lot of them, not all of them.
I need to work on that.
Can black people be racist?
I'm sure black people can be racist. I think anybody can be racist.
Being a light-skinned person growing up in Kenya, there's definitely a colorism issue going on where darker-skinned people are usually looked at differently than lighter-skinned people.
If you have like hate towards like a certain group of people, you are racist.
I think my dad's a racist.
My father was pretty racist. I have some family that are racist.
I do have relatives that are definitely racist towards Japanese. I also have relatives that are racist towards black people.
Like, do you ever challenge them, or are you like, Grandma, come on?
Nah, I let her have it.
I let her have it like it's not a big deal. And actually, that caused significant problems. There's a lot of Asian people who grow up in America that have parents like that put things in their head that make them have stereotypes about black people. Specifically, a lot of women listen to their fathers and listen to the people at their house, and they have certain stereotypes about men. So, for instance, if they come across a black man, they assume he's promiscuous. So, him laughing like that and kind of laughing it off when it's actually quite serious, because here's the reality. A lot of homogeneous countries have a lot of prejudice and racist ideals because they're not used to being around people, specifically China, North Korea, Japan, and I'm not picking on their side of the world. It's just because they're majority homogeneous, meaning that there's majority 90% Asian everywhere. They're not used to being around other groups, and they only see them in stereotypical ways. Specifically, most of Asia knows about black people because of movies. Most of movies are made by white people, and most of those have stereotypes about black people. So of course, when they come over here, they have a whole bunch of stereotypes about black people. So even though he's laughing, it's kind of goofy. It's really not funny. You should check your granny, punk.
Are you racist?
No.
No.
Oh, no, never.
No.
How do you know?
Just know that you don't hate people.
I feel like you know, right? Like if you have to tell people that you're not racist, that to me is a great sign that you're racist.
Are you racist?
No. I mean, if I am, please someone tell me, because that's so disappointing.
Are you racist?
I've been told I am. I was like kind of getting upset because I was tired of hearing about if you're white and Christian, you're racist and you get away with everything. I was like, how can you say that?
Yeah, I'm racist because I'm a white person.
I think all white people are racist.
We have just been put into this system designed to empower our white privilege. As a white person, I am super racist.
I know a lot of people like to say, yes, I'm a racist, because that makes them feel like people know that I'm admitting my faults. But like, I think that's a weird like cop-out.
Have you experienced racism?
Oh, heck yeah. I grew up in the South.
Also, I want to address this whole thing like I'm white, therefore you're racist. No, just because you're white, you're not automatically racist. I know these little softies of this generation want to call out white people racist. They want them to recognize their privilege. That's so dumb. That's like somebody who's born tall that gets to go to the NBA has to say, well, I'm pretty good, but you know, the reason I'm good is because I'm 6'7" and born athletic. You need to recognize your privilege. Or same person who's fighting against this that's born intelligent and making a lot of money as an an engineer, and their belief to themselves personally is, I'm just smart and I work really hard. That's why I'm successful. No, you need to recognize your privilege, and you were born with it. You won the genetic lottery to have the neuroplasticity, to have an engineering level mind. Recognize your privilege, right? Or all of America could say, hey, you need to stop complaining about your life because most Americans' life is significantly better than the rest of the world's. Therefore, you can't complain about anything, including racism. America, if you're born in the richest country in the world, whether you're black, Asian, or black, you need to recognize your privilege. You see how dumb the argument that is? It's dumb. So yes, white people don't automatically be racist because they're white. That's clear as day.
I mean, it happens every day, really.
I've been slammed on cop cars. I've had guns pulled out on me from police officers.
I'm followed through a grocery store.
Got made fun of a lot.
Ching chong, ling long, all this and that.
Did you jump the border? Can you speak English? Hey, speak English. Konnichiwa. I want to eat sushi from your pussy.
Oh, you're the manager? I had more experience than my coworker, and that person was getting paid more than I did.
So I was on a football field and someone had tackled me and they were like, Asians don't play football. I was like, wait a second.
All right, you get the point. They're kind of mixing between racism and discrimination and stereotypes, which are not the same. Racism's at the far end of the spectrum, like where you get to the worst it could possibly be. Discrimination is, depending on where their heart's coming from, could be slightly bad, but some discrimination is what human beings do. It's called choice, it's called evaluation, it's called picking and choosing things. So that's kind of a natural perspective. And then there are stereotypes where it's kind of the generalization of what people do, but it doesn't represent everybody, right? But racism is way over here where there's some malice and there's some power where they're actually implementing something on you to subjugate you, right? That's racism, right? So let's get to the straight point. What is racism, right? What is racism? Personally, I don't believe nobody is intrinsically racist. I think that that's just a word people came up with, but it actually is just a placeholder for human nature acting out self-interest. For instance, if I'm a group of people and I want access to resources and control of my destiny, and however I'm living with another group of people who wants those resources or who I have to share those resources with, then if I'm a selfish person that want an advantage over that person, I would be racist or biased or discriminatory toward that group. I would take advantage of them, and I would justify me taking advantage of them by saying things like they're lesser than because they're black, or they're lesser than because they're Asian. So it's just a justification for unfair or unmoral behavior toward a human being. And I think that's what racist people do. They want an unfair advantage because of insecurity, fear, or a desire for greed and power, or the desire for freedom and not wanting to work, and they want to use other groups. For instance, in slavery, they said that black people are less than human. Why? Because they wanted somebody to build out the West. They wanted somebody to build out America without paying them. They got a free competitive advantage. They were doing something that they knew in their heart that's immoral. However, in order to justify it, in order to get other people to agree to it, in order to live with themselves, they came up with stories like we're not real human beings. We're 3/5 of a human being. We're savages. We have smaller brains. All of this stuff was just a psychological trick, not only for Africans, but for themselves, for they could justify doing something that they knew was wrong. So at the core of it, did they do it because they hate black people? Absolutely not. They did it for money, power, control, and greed. And I think that in the core, a lot of people who say or act racist are doing it out of fear, insecurity, money, power, control, and greed. They want an advantage or not to have to compete fairly by using another group or taking advantage of another group, and they need a justification, and that justification normally comes out in the form of racism, defaming a group of people in order to justify it. It's really that simple. This brings me to a second part. If you're black or any group or person who's getting racism thrown toward you, do not take it so personal. That doesn't mean allow it. Don't mean brush it off. Just understand that their racism is not about you. They don't actually hate you because they don't have anything to hate. What they actually hate or either fear or desire is things that they want for themselves. They want to take advantage of you and they want to justify it. They don't want to compete fairly and they want to justify it. They don't want to work hard, so they want to use you and justify it. They want to do anything to make sure they have access, control, resources without doing it in a fair, competitive way, and they justify it. So don't take it so personal. Just understand they're just trying to get ahead and they're trying to play dirty, and you just have to keep that in mind when you're dealing with somebody racist. It's really that simple. This has been the Invisible Hand Reacts podcast. As I said before, if you want to see a certain video that you think will be interesting, look in the links in the description and text me directly at my number, and just text me the actual video clip and I'll consider it if it's a good clip to do next on this channel. Also, like and subscribe, otherwise people will not see my videos. A lot of people don't know, people don't search for videos on YouTube. What they do is they like and subscribe to a channel, then YouTube's algorithm automatically push their videos to their recommendations. So please like and subscribe for my channel can grow. Also, if you can help me financially grow the channel, I'm trying to buy new equipment, hire new people, make the quality better, just shoot me a text. The link's in the description to the number that you can actually shoot me a text and just say, I want to support. I'll send a link back with different ways you can support the channel. Till next time, my friends, I'm out.